My mother was a beautiful, beautiful, gorgeous woman. I mean, she obviously, I look a lot like her. She really was beautiful. She kind of looked like Elizabeth Taylor, but she had beautiful brown eyes. And she was just this amazing presence. And she was born in the 30s, 1930s. So she was born at a time where women were not that empowered. And yet, my mother was very, very powerful. But she used to do this thing where she would wake me and my older brother up. If my father was my father was a cop, so she would wake me and my brother up at night if my dad wasn't at home, if he was doing if he was doing some kind of night shift. And he was on the moral squad, so it was always very exciting, my father's work. So I remember this one night, she woke me up because she tried to wake up my older brother. He's like, leave me alone. But I'm always like, yes, Mommy, where would you like to go? So she wakes me up and we go downstairs and she turns on the television. And in those days, there wasn't a lot. What was there, 3 channels? Yeah. But there were always these reruns of The Thin Man late at night. How many of you remember The Thin Man? You're that old. So she would turn on The Thin Man and I would sit there with her and she would hold me in her arms. Talk about nothing can harm you, not while I'm around. And I felt so safe and I felt so privileged that she would do that with me, bring me down there and let me be part of that special moment. It's something I always remember. And later on in life, when I asked her, I said, so why did you do that? I mean, it's so special to me, but why did you do that? And she said, because I was actually afraid. She said, I didn't like being alone, and I would bring you down and hold you, and I felt safer. So the very moment I was feeling safe, she was feeling safe, because that's what motherhood is. And Ellen said it in talking about what that means to be a mother. It's not just the love that a mother gives a child. It's the love that the child gives to the mother. It's the love that they share together. It's the unique oneness that we share, all of us. That's what this whole thing about Mother's Day should be about. Understanding that love from a primal state. And I remember, as my mother got older, and my mother had a very troubled life at the end of her life. As she got older, I remember thinking to myself, I wish I could take her and hold her in my arms and make her safe. But one of the things that it's interesting is that, of course, mothers and children, and we're all sitting here today thinking about perhaps our own mother or those that were mother figures to us. You can't really make a child or a mother be what you want them to be. And we talked about that this morning. And I asked, how many of you mothers out there have your children literally turned into exactly what you wanted them to be? Besides Barbara Shane and Matthew. Matthew, you missed your moment.
I'm exactly who she wants me to be.
It's true, right? Isn't it? You can't make your mother be who you want your mother to be. As I sit here looking at Laura and Faye, you can't make Faye be who you want her to be. You can only love her for who she is. She can't make you be who she wants you to be, although I'm sure you're pretty close. But she can love you for who you are. That's the real essence of this Mother's Day love, of understanding that love is not judgmental. Love is about allowing someone to be who they naturally want to be. So, I'd like to read this quote from Ernest Holmes. He says this. Bless you. Let's take a deep breath. I really want you to hear this quote. Asleep in the heart of cosmic love, unborn, universal, the potentiality of the universe, the Christ child lay. And the great mother soul, brooding over her unborn child, conceived in the stillness of her universal nature, she imparts to it her own being. Now, this Christ child, this Christ consciousness, this Christ child that's laying there, it's not, again, as I said earlier, about Jesus. It's about understanding that this mother energy, this mother love, is so fulfilling in its creative nature that all it ever asks and all it ever does is give of itself to us. Gives its own being to us. So that means our job is to free ourselves up to allow that creative energy that Mother is to find a place in us and then do something with it. Because every single person I'm looking at out here is a very unique, different personality. Suzanne Benoit is not Terry Taylor. Terry Taylor is not Joe Jordan. You know? Joe Jordan is not Laurie Savage. Close, but not exactly. Right? Laurie Savage is not Jimmy or Jack. So each one of us have taken that thing, that essence that the mother energy is, and made something out of it. Nadine Risha made something completely different out of her energy. But that's the gift. That's what we get to do. We get to use this creative energy to be anything we want to be. Sky's the limit. You can choose anything. And the mother energy is going to be there saying, yes, what do you want? Bid me. Tell me what you want, and I will give it to you. Because all I can do is say yes. And yet sometimes we give her something like lack. And we say, well, you know what? I'm going to give you lack. I see a lot of lack in my life. And mother, the mother of all, says, and so it is. And you have lack. Or we give it disease. And it says, okay, and so it is. Whatever we give it in our relationship. We give it disgruntled people in our lives. Anybody have any disgruntled people in their life? You're pointing to him? Lovely. I love that. Joe Jordan's like, yeah. I know you're kidding. Bob is so not disgruntled anymore. So we say we're in these relationships and we think there's this disgruntled stuff going on in some relationship, and the universe says, yes. And then it tiptoes over here to the disgruntled person and says, they need you to be a little more disgruntled because they're getting even more angry. So give them what they need. And then the disgruntled comes back worse. And now we just do this vicious cycle. That's what this energy is, this loving, amazing mother energy that's ready to say yes to anything. The question is, what are you ready to say yes to? Are you ready to say yes to more love in your life? Not a person, although that's great too. Are you ready to say yes to more love in your life, more love only? Really only love. So are you doing the exercise this month? Loving only? Wow, the rest of you are like, was that what we were doing? So what's it like? How's it feel? Is it hard? Is it challenging? Because it can be very challenging. I find it myself. There are moments and it's like, is that really the most loving thing I could have said in this moment? Could I have come from a better place than this? It's hard. It can be hard doing love only because we have so many other things we could reference. I could do, instead of love only, I could be judge only. Judge them. Judge them before they judge you. How many of you live your life that way? Like you're going to raise your hand, right? Asleep in the heart of cosmic love, unborn, universal potential, Christ child lay. That Christ consciousness, that highest level of consciousness, is just waiting for you to come from it and live your life from it. You know, one of the things I love about Nadine is that she goes to Egypt. How many times a year? 2 to 4 times a year. I will be going with you to Egypt at one of these two, I think soon maybe, like September for my birthday. But when I hear her stories when she comes back, I sense that there, in the midst of these pyramids, is the Christ consciousness. That when you step in there, you're surrounded by this. I mean, this is my feeling about it, based on what you've told me. Well, you don't have to go to the pyramids to find it, although it's going to be lovely. You can find it right now in this moment. There is a place in you that is the highest level of Christ consciousness. And when you come from that place and speak your mind from that place, now the universal mother energy, the soul of your being, says yes, and you're coming from such a high level. Those two things ignite, and oh my God, success, health, passion, love, all of it. We were at a retreat this week, and I don't even think I told my husband this yet, so I'm going to tell you in public. Where are you? Right there. So we were at a retreat this week, and I was sitting on the beach. We took 13 practitioners from our center and Westlake. The most magnificent day, and I know I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but I want to talk about this for a second. Everybody went off on their walks, and I was left alone. And for some reason, I just started thinking about the loves of my life. That was plural, the loves of my life. And 4 people came to mind. At 62 years old, I know that I have been in love with 4 people. I mean, in love. I've dated many more, but I have been in love with 4 people. I just don't want you to think I spent my whole life with 4 people. So, there's been many. So, 4 people that I have been...
In the last 28 years.
No. I'm getting there. So, I was starting to think about these 4 people, and I was looking at it, and I was like, so what did they all have? What was there? And I realized that the first one was this beautiful masculinity, this sports, this everything I wasn't, that I didn't think I was, and the heart and the soul of this beautiful person. And then the second one was artistic, was the creativity. This was a successful Broadway star who I just fell madly in love with and was in love with for 9, 10 years. And then the next one was this beautiful innocent. And I realized it was the innocence. It was the childlike innocence and the childlike wonder and the beauty of this person's soul. And then I got to number 4, Mr. Kevin Bailey. And when I got there, I thought to myself, I can't be specific here because he has all of it. He's every single bit of it. And I realized that that's why I've stayed 28 years. How could I ever do better? I mean, really, everything this person had and this person had and this person had all showed up in a Liam Neeson lookalike. You know, I mean, so how could I possibly say anything could get better? But I just started to realize that in terms of love and love only, when you go looking only from that place of love, it's amazing how things, I still am, of course, but in that moment, I was more in love with Kevin than I have ever been in love with him. And I was alone on a beach without him. I could have called him, but I thought, we're on a retreat, shouldn't be calling anybody. That's because I was coming from love only. I was looking from love. I was asking the questions from love, from that level of consciousness. So, the title of my talk today is Talk to Your Mother. Talk to your mother. Now, I grew up in Philadelphia. As I said, I was the son of a cop, and all cops, all his brothers were cops, everybody was firemen. Anybody that saw Sissy Boy knows this whole story. And there was this expression. Anybody else grow up where the adults or anybody around you would always say to you, you know what, talk to your mother? Anybody else? My mother, as powerful as my father was, the cop, the macho cop, my mother ran our house. If anything went wrong, it was talk to your mother. So, little story. I was a thrower as a child. Anybody else, when you got mad, you just picked up anything close to you and threw it? Where are my throwers? I want to be careful where you are. So, I could not control my anger. And when I would get really angry, whatever was near me, not a rock or anything dangerous. Well, no, except for this story. And I had an older brother who really, really made me angry a lot. So nobody was home. I think we were like 12 and 13. He's a year older than me. And we're at the top of the staircase in Philadelphia in a row home in northeast Philadelphia. And he really pissed me off somehow. And he taunted me. He loved it when I threw things. He would taunt me to when I had to throw it. And so finally, he made me so angry. I picked something up and I threw it, just like that. I threw it. I threw it at him. And he moved. He stepped out of the way. It went down the staircase and into the tube of the television. And the TV went, pfft, and the two of us, we're like, and then he's like, you did this. It's all you. I did nothing. And so we both kind of sat on the staircase just staring at this TV that had exploded, waiting for someone to come home. And it was my father who came home first. I know, right? You would think that, but no. So he comes in the door, and he's like, and Tommy jumped off the stairs. He did it. He threw that thing down, and it broke, and I had nothing to do with this. And my father just looks at me, and he must have had a really tough night on the street, because he just looked at me and he went, talk to your mother. And he went upstairs and took a nap. But that was scary to think about, oh my God, if he's reacting like that, what is she going to do? She's going to really flip out. I mean, she was an Irish, strong woman. So she comes in, and but do you ever notice this when you're really angry? Something like moving her gobel 1 inch would freak her out. She'd go berserk. But then when something catastrophic happens, you get calm. Anybody else? All of a sudden, you know exactly how to handle it. And she walked in, and I was the one that said to her, I said, Mom, I threw this, and it hit the TV, and it burst, and I'm so sorry. I'm sure I was crying. And she just looked at me. She went, ugh, you boys. She says, go upstairs. That was it. That was the whole thing. Because I think she understood. There is something inside of each one of us that totally, totally gets it. Now, this idea of talk to your mother is not just about your earth mother, although I would like to suggest all of you, if you haven't called, if you have a mother or someone that you call on Mother's Day and you haven't done it yet, you have 6 hours. And if they're in different time zones, you may have only an hour. So do that. But now let's talk about the other one. Talk to your mother. Talk to your soul. Talk to the truth of who you are. Be conscious of the way you talk to yourself. Be conscious of what you are asking of the universe. Because very often when you are asking, you're not really asking. You're kind of complaining that you don't have it. And the universe is hearing that. Your mother, earth, your mother, your soul is hearing that and saying, you're not really asking me for this. You're just complaining that you don't have it. And so it is. That's how important it is for us to absolutely know that the way we speak to ourselves activates this soul, this center of the circle, the mother energy, the feminine energy, the perfect feminine energy. Everything you say to it, everything you believe shows up in the demonstration of this. So I have this beautiful, beautiful quote by Oliver Wendell Holmes, and it's about the religion, and it goes like this. He says, the real religion of the world comes from women much more than from men, from mothers most of all. We carry the key of our souls in their bosoms. So as you think about your spirituality and your spiritual practice, we had this magnificent retreat, as I said, and we went to Flying Point. Is that it, Flying Point? No, my God, that's Southampton. What's Point Dune? That's so funny. Kevin and I got married at sunrise at Flying Point Beach, Southampton, 25 years ago. And then we got married legally in Malibu at Point Dune. Yes, how many of you were at that wedding? Yeah, it was beautiful. So we had a sunrise, sunset wedding, very Jewish. And so we went back there, which is also why I was thinking about that. But we went back there, and the 2 practitioner groups, we had such an amazing workshop. Hearts were just broken open, and it was just beautiful. But here's what happened, because there's the other part, my last part I want to talk about for Mother's Day. Mother Earth. Mother Earth. We're on this beach. You could not have asked for a more spectacular day. The sun, it was just amazing. The year before we went at 6 a.m. because I wanted everyone to experience the sunrise, again forgetting the sun doesn't rise in the west. So we all got there, and all of a sudden it was dark, and then it was light, and we were like, oh. Next year, let's come at 7. So we did. We came an hour later. But the sun was already up, and it was gorgeous. The clouds, the white puffs of cloud in the sky, the water even was blue. We had breached whales. We had dolphins jumping in and out of the water. There were some amazing surfers there. And at one point, when I was left alone, everybody paired off and went off for private 45 minutes with a quote to just ponder, which was great. But there were 13 people, the 12 apostles and me. And so I decided to just stay and watch everything and just be on my own. And these surfers were surfing, and there was this seal that was like surfing with the surfer in the wave. Oh my God, I mean, it was just like, talk about being loved by nature. Talk about, and the sand was amazing, and then the people came that climb and do the rappelling on the mountains. It was just the most gorgeous, spectacular day, and I was so clear that I was one with all of it. I'm sitting there looking at thinking of the Rumi quote, I am not a drop in the ocean, I am all of this. And all of this wants to love me. That's the truth. All of this wants to love me. Forget what you're reading on CNN. Reading on CNN, in case you read the subtitles. Forget what you're watching on TV. Don't let yourself get sucked into this political landscape. Yes, you need to know what you need to know, but don't let yourself really be destroyed by everything that's going on in the world. The world is in the most crazy place it's ever been. Unqualified. It's the craziest time in history ever. And yet, everything that's being stirred up needed to be stirred up, or else it wouldn't have been stirred up. That's the truth. And I can have that perspective. And it's funny, Kelly Lang, you all know Kelly Lang, who used to be a newscaster with NBC, and her partner that we are partnering together with for this project we're doing, the Museum of Consciousness. And it's this amazing project of building, which I'll talk about later. But these are two different perspectives. And everything that was going on this week on television was really fascinating in politics. So there's Kelly in her journalistic way saying everything she thinks about what's going on. And then here is the other side of the equation saying, you know what, it's all good, it's all God, it's all unfolding perfectly. And then they're both saying, and James agrees with me. And the emails are coming back and forth. And I can share this because I know I can. And so finally I did decide to engage, and I went, in fact, everything is unfolding perfectly, and yes, everything is being stirred up. You're correct, and you're correct, but it doesn't matter if you're correct. And this is the whole point of this talk tonight. If you are willing to stay surrounded by, supported by, one with all of the love there is, you can recognize when you're in agreement with this, and you can recognize when you're in agreement with this, they're direct opposite, polar opposites, and yet you're in agreement with both because you stand here in the truth. You understand the truth so clearly, so vividly, so grounded in truth are you that no matter what's going on, you understand that nothing can harm you, not while I'm around. And the I stands for the I am. And the I am is who you are. You are none of this. You are the great I am. I am that I am. Nothing can harm you, not while I am is around. That's the truth. So let this universe, let this world, see all the gorgeous things there are to see. Take your consciousness there. Only see that. Allow only that to be what you see. Only love. Love only. And if you can live from there, you don't miss what's going on. You actually are part of helping what's going on resolve. That's who we can be. That's the Christ consciousness that we can be. Let the world mother you. Let this universal energy that you are bring you down, hold you in its arms, and make you feel so safe, so loved, so secure, that not only are you secure, but everything around you is secure, and you are the very security that is holding you because you are one with it all. That's the truth. That's what we get to celebrate on this Mother's Day. Nothing, and no one can harm you, not while I am. Namaste.